Yes. Good evening, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. You know very well about Unacademy. This is India's largest and the best online education platform. What are all the benefits you're likely to get once you enroll yourself in Unacademy? Ladies and gentlemen, if that's going to be your question, of course, you got daily live classes, you can chat with your educator, you can engage in all-round productive discussions, you can also ask all your genuine doubts and participate in the answer polls. All these things you can do when the session's going on. We got structured courses here which is completely based on UPSC civil service examination pattern and syllabus as well, so that you never get deviated from the expected framework. You stay on track otherwise. We save your time and energy. Not only that, one particular thing we got to keep on emphasizing, ladies and gentlemen, it's not knowing the stuff, knowing to deliver the stuff, because delivery matters. And we've got evaluation, mechanism for that particular purpose, and that too to evaluate you, that in terms of various levels of preparation by conducting regular mock tests and quiz programs, and you get in turn a detailed analysis. Based on your performance, you come to know where you are strong, where you are weak, and also the time you have taken in solving a particular question. Ladies and gentlemen, not only that, once you enroll yourself in Unacademy, you got unlimited access for more than 1 million videos, whatever may be your electronic device, whether it is mobile phone, laptop, desktop, irrespective of your electronic device, you can learn from anywhere, anytime. What you have to do for that? Please download Unacademy Learning app immediately, whether it is Android or iOS. Ladies and gentlemen, once you download, you're ready to access all those benefits. Who is this interacting with you? Of course, this is Success Sampath from Chennai, with unique experience of, got exposed to the fields of engineering, management, and legal education. With 25 years of experience in the field of coaching, especially shaping the careers of civil service aspirants, with my team, I could witness the humble results. Ladies and gentlemen, more than 200, results of, IAS, IPS, IFS, IRS. All my kids are working in different parts of India. Some of them in abroad as well. Part of Union External Affairs Ministry, you might be well aware. And you can also ask me, ladies and gentlemen, what's your vision, sir? If that's going to be your question, to be part of the solution, especially by simplifying the complexity. To begin with, to enable youths of India by providing career solution. Later, that to embrace the global community. Fortunately, this particular vision of mine is completely in alignment with Unacademy's vision. We are working together so that you realize your dream. You become officer or leader in your own capacity. Together, we are building communities, ladies and gentlemen. And you can also reach me through Telegram channel, say Unacademy_Sampath. Or you can also watch a lot of my videos already part of Unacademy, YouTube platform. Say whether it is the very popular and highly scoring optional subject, say sociology, or even the ethics and integrity. Even the today's session is going to be centered around that particular subject. And your essay paper, that all the people who cleared, the 2020 prelims today, they wrote, that the very, that essay paper also. The questions are very fantastic, very simple. What we discussed, the same thing. In fact, that one particular topic, which I wrote, I could become, topper. The culture is, the culture is what we are. Civilization is what we have. The same question has come today. So, the very simple question, fantastic question. I'm pretty sure all my kids, would have performed fantastic today. I believe in today's, essay paper, the mains, right? And also, that various topics, that relevant to, international relations. Not only that, having downloaded Unacademy, app, you can also watch my, that discussion on a lot of MCQs. Last 5-year questions centered around prelims, cutting across various segments of, general studies we have discussed. Many questions came also from that. We get fantastic feedback, we feel encouraged, incentivized. That's why, that prompted us, to start discussing even questions centered around mains also, cutting across different segments of GS. You might be well aware. Ladies and gentlemen, please, that watch all those videos to benefit more. Yes, you can reach all those, videos using my ID, say Success Sampath or Sampath Irvengidam. You can also reach me through social network, that to benefit more. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, yes. It's not only me on the part of Unacademy, more than we 100 plus top educators of India with subject matter expertise. 20 to 20, 25 years of experience in the field of coaching, the shaping the careers of civil service aspirants. We have been waiting for you on the part of Unacademy to shape you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's not only that, under UPSC civil service examination, we got more than 15,000 courses, duration specific module, subject specific module. Yes, it's empire building process. You might be well aware. Once you become IAS or IPS, IFS or IRS, that you're going to be part of, the steel pillars of Indian administration for the next 25 to 30 years of wonderful career. That demands minimum your 2 years of devotion. 1 year for your preparation, 1 year for the pattern of examination. You might be aware. The very examination pattern itself got distributed over 1 year. Your preparation should be for minimum 1 year. So in that sense, the 2 years of devotion, definitely that will ensure you to that, 25 to 30 years of wonderful career. Ladies and gentlemen, keeping all those parameters in mind, that's what we used to, emphasize. There is no leadership without passions. There is no leadership without your passion. There is no leadership without your involvement. There is no leadership without your consistency and focus. So, ladies and gentlemen, keeping all those parameters in mind, we have devised 2 major programs. One is Plus program, another one is Iconic program. What is Plus program? Yes, you got regular live classes, test series, unlimited practice session, structured schedule mechanism. Starting from 1 month to maximum 36 months, you got programmed here. Why 36 months or 3 years? You can ask me. Yes, we understand. You may be a college going aspirant. You may be work going aspirant, running short of time. Why do you stress yourself? And on the basis of available time, you can plan comfortably. And you have to ensure that you meet eligibility criteria in terms of your age also. Keep all those things in mind. You can choose programs accordingly. Right? It is that way, that please use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Say, for example, if you are going to, choose 36 months program, almost you get, 9,000 rupees, benefit if you use my referral code, say success, by availing 10% discount. But more than this Plus program, ladies and gentlemen, we strongly recommend Iconic program. What is this? You will be allotted a personal coach, a mentor, to understand your nature and to suggest study planner accordingly. Though it is virtual learning program, given COVID situation, a new normal that we witness. Ladies and gentlemen, that because of that personal coach, that you will be given individual attention. Yes, you will be trained on everyday answer writing practices too. And here too, you got, the 12 months program, 24 months program, 36 months program. Use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. And say for example, if you are going to choose 36 months Iconic program, the 3 years Iconic program, almost you get 15,000 rupees zero benefit, having availed my referral course, having availed the 10% discount using my referral code, say success. Ladies and gentlemen, that not only that, for all popular optionals, the subjects, we support you are the part of Unacademy. Here too, you can use my referral code, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, technically speaking, if if you calculate on per day basis, the 80 to 100 rupees that you are going to spend, the very, the money not even equivalent to the expenses you made through your evening snacks, but you ensure your career. This is as simple as that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. So, that whether you plan for 2021, 2022, 2023, you might be aware we are starting the new program from 11th January. Please enroll yourself to benefit more. And variety of teams on the part of Unacademy, that are waiting, to support you especially. Ladies and gentlemen, and that whether it is bilingual or exclusive Hindi or exclusive English medium, you join the program, you benefit more. And also, that you can download, that you talk to our team, that they will guide you, very happy to guide you and that you can do, having downloaded the app, you can benefit. Say for example, if you're going for, that the prelims cum mains integrated program, iconic, as well as, the optional. See, if you choose 36 months program, almost this is the price. That if you avail, that the discount of 10% using my referral code, it's almost like 40,000, 45,000 rupees benefit you get. So rush to the opportunity, benefit more, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way, right? It is right time. Not only that, why we strongly recommend iconic program. Let me come back, right? It's apart from, allotting, a personal coach, a mentor to you, you will be trained in terms of answer writing exercises. And you will get, a genuine feedback also that will transform you. And having understood your nature, that you will be suggested a study planner. You can customize, you can personalize. And also, that whenever you need some sort of clarity over some topics, having attended those sessions, you will be, the given opportunity to participate, the booster sessions too. And you will be allowed to participate in the high intensity workshops so that you stay on track. You join that, the creamy quintessentials of, the civil service preparation. So not only that, the variety of measures that we take, that on the part of, iconic program, that will definitely accelerate your preparation with our daily inputs, that the study materials, what we supply, the content, what we supply to you, that you can download as PDF materials. And if you say you have already enrolled on the part of Unacademy for variety of programs, you can also upgrade yourself to this iconic program. You please talk to our team. They'll be very happy to guide you. Ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat once again, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Now it is the time for our purpose and direction of today's interaction. Excuse me. This is in continuation of the variety of sessions, that we already, gave you on the part of ethics and integrity, which is part of, your UPSC Civil Service Examination main syllabus. That too, in the UPSC Civil Service Examination mains, very well, you got 1750 marks. Out of that 1750, you might be aware, that 500 marks meant for your optional subject. The optional you are going to choose. The 250 marks meant for essay. All people who wrote mains, that 2020 today, they face this paper. 2 essays you have to write within 3 hours. So, what about that remaining, that the marks, 1000 marks? Of course, the 1000 marks, that of general studies. In general studies, you got 4 papers per paper, otherwise, the 250 marks. The very, that the topic, what I'm discussing now, ethics and integrity, the very subject, which comes under, general studies, that too, GS paper 4. This 250 can be divided into, that 120 marks plus 130. We are keep on emphasizing. The 120 marks for your theory, 130 marks meant for your, the case studies we are talking about. The theories, what do you mean by theories? You can ask me. I understand the concepts part of ethics, and also, that the contributions from, philosophers, the great thinkers, the social scientists of different parts of the world, in different contemporaries, you might be aware, they would have enriched the subject matter of ethics. And that having understood those concepts and theories, you're going to apply the case study. Case study is all about, that the day-to-day activity, that you encounter some sort of ethical dilemmas, a conflict, or some sort of conflict of interest, the situational constraints where you are guided by ethics. In the case studies, that you have been put in such a particular situation, right? That is why this subject is called, written interview. Only when you go to UPSC oral interview, you are asked question by the members of the board. But here, the written paper itself, you are asked question, but you are going to answer. This ethics paper is otherwise called written interview. It's also called, that anticipatory socialization. Why? Before you reach the position of, that home secretary, district magistrate, SP, IG, DGP of a particular state administration, even cabinet secretary. But the question paper, that the UPSC Civil Service Examination mains question paper, that to ethics and integrity, where the case studies, that putting you in that position and expecting, solution out of you. If you were in that particular position, what you would have done? So you are supposed to provide ethical solution, and we are training you for that. So you socialize yourself, you participate in that socialization, you train yourself before reaching that particular status. Ladies and gentlemen, that's fantastic. So, the ethical solution that you're going to provide, to the case studies. But when I say ethical solution, it's not one set of formulae. You got, the different domains, that commanding, different value system. different parameters when you go for, ethical solution. Because in the case study, having understood the case study, that you go for introspection, you go for merits and demerits, and finally you stay with the question in providing ethical solution, and you get the help of, that the different formulae cutting across variety of domains. That's what happening in ethics and integrity. And before going there, what is ethics? Ladies and gentlemen, you might be aware, whenever you are perplexed, whenever you are confused, excuse me, whenever you are confused, whenever you face ethical dilemmas, conflicting situations, you are guided by the ethics. What is ethics? Ethics is all about standards, principles, and value system guiding you when you are perplexed, so that you lead happy life, good life, great life, so that you be part of solution, part of contribution, so that you become role model in your own capacity. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So the ethics, otherwise called principles, standards, value system, guiding you whenever you are confused, whether that you got choices in front of you, whether to choose this or that, maybe ethical dilemma. Otherwise, that let's talk this way. When you got choices in front of you, right and comfort, you are supposed to choose right, not comfort. The moment you choose comfort, you lose your identity. You know the consequences. If you yield to the temptation or sensory pleasure, you lose your identity. We're talking that way. Ladies and gentlemen, so the ethics is emphasizing only that particular spirit. You are guided so that that you lead a happy life. How? So it is not one set of value system, as I told you, variety of value system. When I say ethics, you can ask me, yes, we have got law, no, why you need ethics? As we said, that when we invented car, some people said, no, we have got horse now, why you need car? And people, that even we criticize, television as idiot box. And today we criticize, the social media as selfish medium. So whenever, that we go for, invention or creativity, definitely it is not free from, that the criticism. Of course, the same way you can also ask me, why you need ethics? We have got already, that religion to regulate our behavior. No. We have got, that otherwise law, the legal mechanism to regulate our behavior. Those who are violating the legal mechanism, they'll be brought to the book. We got social sanction mechanism. Why you need ethics? Yes, no doubt, that what we are talking, whether it is ethics or law, the basic law which governs any nation, or, the religion, or even the magic, what we are talking about. So all are otherwise called, that instruments of social control, MRS. Various instruments of social control, in our lifetime, that cutting across variety of societies, we have employed to regulate the behavior of the society, so that society stays in order. Society stays with social integration. Right? So it is that way, that when we talk about, magic, that belongs to hunting and food gathering society. The very religion, the belief and faith belonging to traditional agrarian society. The science belonging to industrial society. What we do with science? Science is, after all, based on, that, of course, the logic, the reasoning, the rationalization. So, of course, that a law is born out of it, out of the logic. And you have to understand the social values, general guidelines to an action, that becomes, that social norms when it is more specific. You may follow, you may not follow the social values, general guidelines to an action. You should decide not to lie, not to hurt, not to harm. But social norms are very specific. You should follow. Of course, as you practice no parking, no smoking. But you formalize this social norm, that or document, that becomes, ultimately law. It's called, so formalized, documented social norms ultimately becoming, law, the law of the land. It is, that must follow. So may follow, should follow, must follow the law. But what happens, right, when we talk about law, it has got its own limitations. All people, on the part of implementation of those legal mechanisms, they become rules Ramanujams. Sometimes they forget the purpose. So law has got its own limitations. Otherwise, sometimes, it takes the role of rigidity. It is not practical. So that is why you need another tool. Otherwise, when we enter into 21st century, how long, you can live with 19th century tools? That demands tools of, 21st century. So what happens, right? The science, part of industrial society, because we enter into 21st century, not only that, knowledge-based society that demands new tools. that demands new instruments of, social control. The knowledge-based society where predominantly you will encounter, that social sector domination, service sector domination, where you need, the very tool, the ethics as instrument of social control. Because that in that world, you don't need enforcing agencies. You don't need CCTV camera. Because that there is a judge in every individual. You start listening to your conscience. You don't silence your whispering mind. That's guiding you. As as Swami Vivekananda said, whenever you encounter conflict between heart and brain, you listen to your heart. Otherwise, you should know how to balance between heart and brain. It is that way. So what happens, right? So sometimes when you witness, that it's not sometimes, because of the limitations and rigidity on the part of the law, you take the tools or instruments of social control ethics so that, that you conduct very ethical life. So you enter, ultimately, that you lead a very happy life. Right? According to various thinkers, you come to know, that by nature you are happiest person in the world. But you did so many things in the world that made you unhappier. So this ethics already, that once again reinforcing the very, the point that, by nature you are happiest person. By nature, basically you are spiritual being, but you undergo human experience. It is reinforcing through the contributions of various thinkers, that what is the value system? The value system you already got, that I'm pretty sure if you're sitting in front of me and listening my, that the session on ethics and integrity, I'm pretty sure there is ethics in you because you want to make difference in life. You want to be part of the solution. You want to be a role model. You want to eradicate all those social issues on the part of, that Indian administration by becoming part of Indian bureaucracy. That says you are already ethical person. You are sitting in front of me. So the thing is, I'm not saying, you don't know ethics. You know already. You are practicing. Maybe I take, my humble attempt. God has given me opportunity so that, I expose you some, keywords or concepts. I connect you with the syllabus of UPSC as well as, that the very nomenclatures, the keywords, the contributions of various thinkers. But you are already practicing it. I just, that, formalize or that give shape to your understanding that you are already practicing. Nothing more than that. You know everything already. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. Yes, so the very ethics introduction, we already discussed the contribution from, Western moral thinkers, say Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, even Immanuel Kant, John Baudelaire Rawls, and English utilitarians like, that Jeremy Bentham, John Stuart Mill, and also even the very Swami Vivekananda. We also spoke at length about, that the Indian ethics, or the ethics in Indian philosophy in terms of orthodoxy, heterodoxy. In orthodoxy, we spoke about, that the schools you might be aware. Of course, Vidyaranya says around 16 schools. We took into account, only 6 schools. And we said, that Mimamsa, Samkhya, Vaisheshika, Vedanta, and Nyaya, Yoga. We discussed at length how they contributed, enriched the very subject matter of ethics, a part of, orthodoxy. And also in heterodoxy, that heterodoxy you might be aware, they never accord, that they never, that accept God. They never accept, validity of Vedas, you might be aware. The very heterodox schools you might be aware, the schools like Buddhism, actually Buddhism, Jainism belonging to heterodox, that schools you might be aware. And also Ajivikas, Ajnanas, Charvakas. So put together orthodoxy plus heterodoxy, that ethics, what you witness in Indian, the context, of course, it's otherwise called spiritualism. It's a way of life, style of life. Even I said, in the Margazhi month in Tamil, of course, our ladies, that get up in the early morning, ultimately they make Rangoli design at the entrance. You might be aware. Through that, you see the ethics. How they use, the rice powder ultimately in making variety of, the columns, the Rangoli designs. What is the purpose? No. Those rice powder, that will be taken away, eaten by the small creatures, the ant and termites. You might be aware. So the belief system in such a way, if you do that, ultimately probably Lakshmi enters your home, ensuring prosperity. And also the scientific reason, that maybe ozone layer comes down, ultimately that gives you, that maybe health reasons. All those rituals and ceremonies created in such a way so that you be part of the ethical life. Of course, that's otherwise called environmental ethics. Be kind to every kind, not only mankind. You feed small creatures in the name of Rangoli. Probably the purpose, our ladies, our women may not be understanding. We forgot the purpose, and we are, stuck up with rituals and ceremonies. We continue. That's why, over the days they become obsolete. Otherwise, they become, the subject of mockery, because you should not forget the purpose. And lot of misinterpretations too. So in Indian way of life, that when you say ethics, it is part, it's otherwise called spiritualism. But whereas in the Western world, because they say, that knowledge is virtue. Even the Western moral thinkers, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. The Western world running after, that intellectualism. They say enlightenment, acquisition of wisdom. But in Indian way of life, you may spiritualism. You are part of the greater entity. The Jivatma joins the Paramatma. You came with a purpose. Once the purpose is over, you join back, the very Paramatma. You get Atma Gyan. You call moksha, maybe enlightenment, maybe kaivalya, maybe nirvana. So the ethics in Indian context is spiritualism. The ethics in Western context is otherwise called intellectualism. Even you would have watched a movie called Lucy, right? So when the power increases 30, 40, 50, 60, by the time it reaches 100%, it's full of light, the knowledge. So in mobile message comes, I'm everywhere. I'm omnipresent, omnipotent. Maybe the knowledge, enlightened. Over. For some people, that for Mahatma Gandhi, truth is, that religion. For Swami Vivekananda, love, and service is a God. Even Buddhism emphasizing be compassionate and humanistic. Jainism also reinforcing the same sort of values with a little bit difference. But their stress is more on ahimsa. More on ahimsa. And when comparing Buddhism, Jainism is more rigid. And monks should lead rigid life. You come to know. We are going to discuss. And also, that the Rishabha, the founder of, that the very Jainism we are talking about. Of course, that the 24th, that the Tirthankara, you talk about, Mahavira. And also 23rd, that you talk about, that the Parshvanatha, you hear. And even, the very clear-cut example, that very Sharavana Belagula, the Bhagubalishwarar, you would have witnessed in Karnataka, the very celebrations and all. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. This is in continuation of the variety of videos we already discussed. You please, having finished this, you watch those videos to benefit more. And as far as this, that the contribution of thinkers concerned, you will be given quotes. Based on the quotes, they expect what's your, that understanding, what's your meaning based on the quote. It's not only enriching the subject matter of, the ethics, and also, the questions, direct questions out of the quotes. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take you. So we are going to connect with the syllabus, and also we are going to elaborate, what is Jainism? That of course it is heterodox, that religion in India we are calling, along with Buddhism. Of course, contemporary of Buddhism. The main emphasis on ahimsa and also the path to salvation. The Tri-Ratna you call, na? So, the right faith, right knowledge, right conduct we are going to discuss. And also not only that, the very Jainism also talking about, 5 moral principles. I'm going to give you the formula, ABS. First one, ahimsa, and also brahmacharya. ABS I'm talking about. And satya, and also, that aparigraha, asteya. That's otherwise 5 principles we are going to discuss, don't worry. And we've got elaborated discussion on those 5 moral principles also. So, that, and also what is the shortcomings on the part of Jainism we are going to discuss. And that one should not be always, proud. If you feel pride, the pride stops you. You get egoism ultimately. The sources of pride also we are going to discuss in length. And also the quotes of, Mahavira we are going to discuss finally. And also connecting with the resources so that you take your understanding to the next level. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you, especially on ethics and integrity, which has got the responsibility of, 250 marks out of, that 1750 in UPSC Civil Service Examination mains. Once again. So I'm taking a lot of water. You can also refresh yourself. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, that's good, na? Drink more water because, memory is related to water. Drink more water, please. It's nothing to do with memory. Of course, you're very comfortable. Please, that gives me the very hot water. Thank you. Yes. Of course, that in the beginning, in all videos, we are keep on emphasizing, we are elaborating. When you get confused, whenever you encounter situational dilemmas or ethical dilemmas or conflict of interest, when you become, the part of, governance mechanism. See, when I said ethics, that ethics cutting across variety of domains. The ethics, what I speak, maybe ethics in personal relation or basic human values, say TRLPJ. That's what I say. The TRLPJ values, what are all those? The truth, the responsibility, the love, the peace, the justice or fairness. Every, as a human being, the basic human values or ethics in personal relation. You got another set of value system that's called, maybe the recommendations of, not maybe, the recommendations of very Nolan Committee of UK. The Lord Nolan celebrating Silver Jubilee. Of course, you know very well that set of value system. SIOA, OH, L. What are all those? Selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, leadership. We're talking about it. Not only that, this is ethics in social relation and also in environmental relations. We are talking about. What is that? These principles or standards, value system, what we are talking about, is not restricted to the humanity alone. It's also embracing other species too. The planet of the Earth is not only restricted to the very humanity. And that is the sense you apply the same standards or principles even to the non-human environment. You call, environmental ethics, maybe your obligation towards other species. Who gave you authority to spoil, that the planet of the Earth, which is also housing other species? Maybe the anthropogenic factor, the global warming, the climatic change, which has got its own impact not only on humanity, even on other species also. There we talk about stewardship, environmental racism, environmental centrism, biocentrism, anthropocentrism, variety of ethics there. So be kind to every kind, not only mankind. So that's environmental ethics. Not only that, the very, that the value system also cutting across the public domain, where we are talking about, of course, LCR, ITF, UNEX. That's a code word. You can have your own code, that acronym you can that form for your own convenience. It's not mandatory that you have to follow my style. You be, unique in your own kind. Let me appreciate that. So the law, the commitment, the responsibility, integrity, transparency, fusion, the excellence, utilitarianism, national interest, equity, the compassion, sensitivity. The value system, the ethics in public administration. The same way, that ethics in international relations. So the variety of value system cutting across variety of domains. So I said, whenever you see encounter, that whenever you encounter ethical dilemma, whether to choose or that, how it can be. It could be, maybe whether to speak in favor of environmental sustainability or to speak in favor of mere economic development. Or, to speak in terms of economic development, a few at the cost of, a section of population that causes protest, symbolic, maybe pressure groups. They come to streets, they form social movements, even against, agricultural laws, what's happening in Delhi. Whether the government takes, asylum in law or speaking about, fairness or justice on the part of agricultural community. They indulge, you might be aware, they engage them, variety of, discussions going on, and several talks were inconclusive also, you might be aware. So anyway, efforts are on, you might be aware, for consensual approach, that's different. And whether to speak in favor of your fundamental right, also taking care of your fundamental duties. Duties and rights go together. கடமையை செய்வதிலிருந்தே உரிமைகள் பிறக்கின்றன. Got the idea? It's not, that always talking about your right. My right, my right. What about your duty? What about your obligation? What about your responsibility? And also, it is not talking about, mere competition, also taking into account compatibility. Ladies and gentlemen, the very compatibility, when I say, of course, that you talk about the compatibility, that you have to understand unique problems on the part of everybody. When you talk about, India or Indian economic growth, it's not the growth of, mere corporate people. The growth of everyone. Otherwise, growth of Indian economy should benefit everybody. Otherwise, people should catch up. The role of government, to facilitate everything, not controlling rather. from controller of economy to facilitator of economy. That's what the message from economic reforms we are talking about. When that's the scenario, everybody, we have to take everybody on board. It should be inclusive governance. So otherwise, it's not, saying that, the working towards, the all individuals should compete, but there are individuals, they don't know what is even competition. So they are simply waiting for meeting the basic amenities, roti, kapda, makan, their preoccupation with that. Otherwise, they are waiting for the government's populistic measures, waiting for Mandrega, waiting for government schemes, policies, programs, social sector allocation. How come you can expect them immediately to compete with, that all those well-off or affluent communities? So you have to understand the unique problems on the part of variety of sections like, Dalit, minorities, the women, children, differently abled people, even small and marginal farmers, and even informal workforce in different parts of India that exposed how they are vulnerable during COVID situation. It's that way. So it's not competing. Of course, we can compete, but at the same time, we should not give up this, compatibility. It's not level playing field. That justifies, the protective discrimination, positive discrimination. And there you can also link with equity principle from equality. All are equal, fantastic. But there are some people more vulnerable. Hitherto they have been oppressed and suppressed. In what way we are going to elevate them? There we justify reservation mechanism. All upper caste people need not be rich people. All lower caste people need not be poor people. Of course, recently government implemented 10% of reservation even in general, that category. You might be aware. Why? This is rationalization. So positive discrimination, protective discrimination. So we move from equality to equity. This is all about ethics. Ladies and gentlemen, so it's not talking about mere, that social progress, but what about purpose and direction? And also one of the 7 sins according to Mahatma Gandhi, politics without principles. We are talking about, so that politics per se is fantastic, noble profession, but it is bad politicians, that they contaminated the very sphere of politics. The scamsters, antisocial elements, that the politicians with criminal antecedents, it is they spoiled the very political arena. After all, the very politics, that hitherto you might be aware, overall the people entered and adored people like Mahatma Gandhi ji, Pandit Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Subhash Chandra Bose, Pasumban Muthuramalinga Thevar, Karma Veerar Kamarajar, Rajaji, people like Periyar, even Arinjir Anna. We are talking about so many people. So it's not like, that what we see today, scamsters, even, that a very honest, the minister Kakkan, we are talking about. So it is bad people entered into the system, ultimately they spoil, that it's not accusing the system, that all those bad elements should get, eliminated. So anyway, it's one of the 7 sins according to Mahatma Gandhi, politics without principles. We are talking about whether to, to choose politics or to compromise, that ethics. So the dilemma, otherwise it's not, that mere responsibility, accountability, transparency. Parallelly, you move from, that mere good governance to ethical governance. What? It's not citing, that taking asylum in law or legal systems for doing nothing, where you are supposed to use this, the tools of ethics. So not stopped by the limitations of the law or its rigidity. As said by Max Weber, the bureaucracy has got its own, limitations. All individuals becoming iron cage trapped individuals, especially officials. You are unable to move this side, that side. Why? You got variety of restrictions. So we understand limitations or rigidity on the part of bureaucracy, where you are supposed to use the tools, the instrument of social control ethics, which is belonging to, the very tool of, knowledge-based society, so that you ensure peace in the society. You be part of the solution. Where we, you got elements like, it's not economic diplomacy, ethical diplomacy, corporate social responsibility, scientific social responsibility. You move from mere IQ to EQ. It's your ability that takes you to the greater heights, but it's your character that keeps you there forever. It's your emotional intelligence that keeps you there forever. When the character goes, everything goes. The character is, after all, the byproduct of, your socialization, your exposure to the value system. You are brought up where, that variety of institutions took part already in shaping your character, in molding your character. You also submitted yourself. You internalized the value system for the very institutionalization efforts of those social institutions. That's why, a personality in you. which is byproduct of your value system. That is what you stay. You never compromise those value system. You always that stand for those principles. Then you are man of ethics or women of ethics. We're talking about. So ethical governance, that way, from equality to equity, from IQ to EQ, from ethical diplomacy, economic diplomacy to ethical diplomacy. And inclusive governance, financial inclusion, everything. Why? The welfare nation notion, the paternalistic notion, as Ashoka did. What is that? He said, all are not my citizens, they are my sons and daughters, having embraced Buddhism. That's what he's shown. The modern day nation should take care of all citizens as that father. Paternalistic nation we are talking about. It's your family. It is not polarizing or dividing. You have to take everybody on board. Of course, see, 5 fingers are not the same. There will be some wrong elements, fringe elements causing disturbances. They should be tamed. Of course, we understand Sam, Ved, Dhan, Dand. Why not? But there comes the responsibility. With more power comes more responsibility. We understand. So, variety of ethical dilemmas we witness. Ladies and gentlemen, variety of ethical dilemmas. Ultimately, you are guided by ethics, the principles, standards, value system, not stopped by the very limitations or rigidity of legal mechanism. Because the ethics, after all, the tool for 21st century knowledge-based society. Don't live with 19th century or 18th century mentality or tools that demands your next avatar. Your 2.0, version 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, let me connect you, then with the very syllabus. Of course, this is what the syllabus, the candidate's attitude and approach to the issues relating to integrity, probity in public life, and the problem-solving approach to various issues, and the conflicts faced by him or her while dealing with society, to be part of the solution in various case studies. This is what syllabus description. The syllabus also talking about, that's introduction to the syllabus. You got variety, ethics in personal relation, ethics in social relation, environmental ethics, ethics in public administration. We spoke everything. And also the concepts like, attitude, aptitude, emotional intelligence, where we speak about, that Daniel Coleman, John, Mayer, Peter Salovey, ability model, domain model, how to handle your emotions so that you stay composed. You never lose your temperament. It's not reacting to the situation. It is responding to the situation. There should be a calculated, that response. Appropriate response, not reaction. Problems are same. It's not the problem. It is how do we respond to the problem that matters. That reveals your personality. We're talking about. So the concepts, will take you that way, and also the contributions of, various moral thinkers. Our discussion centered around this. Having discussed Western moral thinkers and Indian, that ethics and, that Hinduism, especially Swami Vivekananda. Now we started discussing, in the morning we discussed Buddhism, the Gautama Buddha, Siddhartha. In that Buddhism, we spoke about, 4 noble, the truths, and also, that eightfold path. We discussed. Same way, that under Jainism of Mahavira, that founded by Rishabha, you might be aware, the emphasis stressed on ahimsa, the core. Here also we talk about, the Triratnas. We are talking about right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. Of course, we are going to elaborate 5 principles also. As I said, that the very ahimsa, brahmacharya, asteya, aparigraha, satya, we are going to talk about. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen, the contributions of various moral thinkers, philosophers, how it enriched the subject matter of ethics, and also, that all those concepts and theories, what you learn, that you are going to apply in the name of case study. This is for 130 marks and this is for 120 marks. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath interacting with you. In every, that video, I'm giving, that I think, that different introduction, probably my humble attempt, so that you reach to the core, the very subject. And if you got variety of, the feedback as well as, the very queries also, you can talk to me. 1 second. Give me 1 second. Yes, Jainism. Of course, we are talking about, the founder of the Jainism, that founder, of course, that the Rishabha, we call, that. But here you talk about, that the contribution, impact from Mahavira. And he belongs to the very contemporary of Buddha. The variety of, the predecessors you call, the Tirthankaras otherwise, that starts with, Rishabha. And also the Parshvanatha, the finally you see prior to Mahavira. Mahavira, after all, that it's not after all. Mahavira is said to be, the 24th Tirthankara. Jainism, Jaina means, conqueror. You will come to know everything. You conquer. Even the very Buddhism says, that discipline your mind. Discipline your mind. By practicing, that eightfold path, as well as, that how you can end that sufferings, that by living detached, by practicing moderate path. The same way, that it is also, that sharing the similar platform. But the point is, of course, that the very Jainism, you conquer all those evil forces that we are going to discuss. This Jainism rose in reaction to the ritualism of Vedic religion. Both Jainism and Buddhism is otherwise called heterodox religions of Hinduism. So the orthodoxy and ritual superiority and use of Sanskrit language, the people belonging to mercantile community, they face some sort of limitations because of the Hinduism. And they embraced ultimately, that resulted in the very birth of this, the schism. The very Buddhism and Jainism came. And also, the very language utilized by these heterodox religions, Buddhism and Jainism, you might be aware, the language of, that local people, local lingua franca they utilize. Pali and Prakrit, you might be aware. Even Dukh, it's a term, Pali term in Buddhism. So the ritualism, it's reaction against the rituals and ceremonies, even both Hinduism, the very Buddhism and Jainism, that ultimately disapproving that. They simplified the very living. And they did not accord status to God. Otherwise, it's not by fear, that you venerate things. You got freedom. So from the clutches of, all those ritual and ceremonies, that the very life has been, taken out. That's by, the very Buddhism and Jainism we are talking about. So, that the Jainism admitted people from different ranks of society. No caste system, no hierarchy, no caste-based occupation or social distance or taboos. So you got your own freedom. And that this Jainism survived in India throughout the history, despite the, that the variety of fluctuations it faced, the vicissitudes, that it faced in the past, due to strict adherence to the religious discipline we are talking about. Why? The very strong commitment to the religious discipline we're talking about. The very clear-cut example in South, that of course, you would have heard, that when there was during Chandragupta Maurya, so ultimately, a section of people came to South, Stalabahu, Bhatrabahu. The very Jainism got divided into two. What is the point? That so a guy who came to South, under the leadership, called Stalabahu, a branch of, that the followers of Jainism came to South. They took, that they lived in the forest. So they maintained that the purity of Jainism. That's why, that the pure Jainism, that they are, that they never wear dress, sky clad. They wear the very sky as their own dress. That's why the Sharavana Belagula, the Bhagubalishwaran, you see the nude posture. Even I've seen a lot of, that retired DGPs having embraced Jainism. They walked in the road. They were given proper police protection, the nude. They give up everything. Stalabahu, they came under the leadership called Stalabahu. They are otherwise called, the Digambaras. The very Jainism, that which has got its own schism, that Shvetambaras, Digambaras. Shvetambaras, you see in the modern day world, they wear white dress, even they close, that the mouth also. That what the corona situation, the mask, that they wear 24/7 mask, you are aware. Because why? Even the small creatures should not enter the mouth in the evening hours. They sometimes, take food before 6 o'clock. Because they don't want to see the small creatures dying and even entering our mouth and getting, that ensuring peaceful demise. Shvetambaras, white clad, they wear white clad. Digambaras, the sky as dress, the meaning is nudity. So a section of Jains, that they maintained the purity of Jainism, having come to the south, because they lived in the forest. When they went back, they see a lot of deviations in the original Jainism by the people, they were called Shvetambaras. So there came, schism, in the Jainism, Shvetambara, Digambara. As we speak, that in the Buddhism, Hinayana, Mahayana. In Hinduism, of course, Shaivites, Vaishnavites. In Islam, Shia, Sunni. You might be aware. So the Bhagubalishwarar temple, that you can recall. Ladies and gentlemen, so that why? So Jainism survived in India throughout the history, despite the fluctuations it faced, due to fluctuations like this. Due to, the strict adherence to the religious discipline. So, it suggests, prescribes, formulae, the precepts, teachings, that's applicable to both monks as well as laymen. But monks have got more responsibility to strictly adhere to. That you are going to, learn. Ladies and gentlemen, yes. So, strict moral discipline is seen as the route to salvation, route to moksha. That you call, that of course kaivalya. Of course, in Buddhism you call nirvana, or even enlightenment. You call the liberation, the free from rebirth. You talk about, strict moral discipline. It is that way, strict moral. You stick, that the more strong commitment to the very discipline. Ultimately, that so both Jainism and Buddhism, that's what that the disciplining your mind, that plays crucial role. So it is rooted in abstractness, metaphysics. You go beyond, the concrete things, metaphysics, the transcendent. You go beyond mind. So the meaning is you connect with. But they are not talking about, elaboration of the concept of God or soul much. So it's abstractness, the rooted in abstractness, not tangible things. So utility towards the ultimate objective of liberation. That's what, of course, the route to salvation for that strict moral discipline adhered to. What is the point? The objective of liberation, maybe, the kaivalya, enlightenment. So that is the ultimate objective. So the Jaina ethics is otherwise called, the rules for the ascetics. Strict adherence, the more austerity. That's what, the Sharavana Belagula, you see nudity, the very strict adherence to the rules. Because, they do not want to harm. As long as, because the whole world is completely, that governed by two principles, pain and pleasure. When it is applicable to you, the same is applicable to other creatures also. When something paining you, that's what, the very Mahavira says, take the, very, the hot iron rod. Will you keep it in your hand? Will you feel pain? How come the same way others also will undergo pain? So the pain, what you are, supposed to get, the same pain, others also, that like other species also like you get exposed. So understand from others' point of view. So don't harm, don't hurt by words, by deeds. It is that way. So that we are going to discuss, ladies and gentlemen. So that the rules for ascetics. Ascetics means monks. That it is that way. So let me talk about the very simple procedure. After that, we are going to elaborate. What is that? So the principles of Jainism, the promises, vad, you call na vad. 5 great vows, promises, mahavratas. They are otherwise called mahavratas. What are all those? Let me give you, the code for that. ABS. A3, A cube, otherwise. What is that? So, one ahimsa, another one asteya, another one aparigraha. Ahimsa, in the, that non-violence. Of course, that Mahatma Gandhi got influenced by the Jain people. That's why he became vegetarian. His ahimsa, satyagraha, influence of Jainism. He himself, writes in My Experiment with Truth. You please go through. So, ahimsa, that don't hurt. The non-violence we are talking about. Then brahmacharya, lead the celibacy life. And also, that, the satya, never lie. The practice truthfulness. And also asteya, that, Buddhism says not taking the not given. Don't manipulate, don't indulge in manipulation so as to, that exploit the resources of somebody else. So the point is, don't indulge in, don't try to take advantage. Don't steal somebody else's property. Asteya. Without their consent. It is that way, they don't exploit somebody else's resources. So, aparigraha, non-possession. Give up everything. Maybe it talks about, aparigraha, detachment. Don't attach yourself. It is that way, that's what, they emphasize. All Jains should keep, proper records. I don't know, some of the Jains, committing mistakes, that indulging in criminal activities, they are not Jains then. Even if you are pious Hindu, if you are strict religious person, it's not mere religion. Religion is the first step. If you're a real spiritual person, you will be ethical person to the core. You strictly listen to all those, adhere to all those principles. You will never indulge in unethical practices. So the guys committing, that mistakes or scamsters, antisocial elements, even terrorists, that they are not religious people. Terrorists have no religion. Scamsters have no religion. Antisocial elements, no religion. Corrupt politicians, you don't have religion. You don't have right to, that take asylum in religion. But you use religion also to polarize people. You use language also to polarize people. You use caste, identity politics and son of the soil theory to polarize people. So this is also, that ultimately what happened, that you mislead people, you lie. It is that way. You steal, you know that ultimately, you know that you make mockery of their belief. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we talk about it. It's very simple. ABS, anti-lock, you know, the braking system. You keep in your mind, maybe ABS, the principle. Of course, AQBS. It's simply, but we are going to elaborate. So, Jainism is separated into two sects we are talking about. So, Shvetambaras, they wear white cloth, white clad. Digambaras, they are called sky clad. They wear the whole sky as if their own dress. Meaning is nudity. They go without clothes. You understand? Charavana Belagula, clear cut example. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, Jainism, you know, that derived ethics for both ascetics, monk, as well as laymen, laity. It is derived ethics for both people. It's not exclusive. You know, it's not like, you know, Hinduism, the caste system, that you are meant for that, you are meant for this. No, nothing doing. So, people from different ranks, you know, that accepted. That's what recruited for Jainism, you know, well. It is directed towards, you know, once again, we are reinforcing liberation of individual. Of course, you call Kaivalya, enlightenment. So, the orientation is religious because, you know, people take pilgrimage. You would have, you know, that seen the temple and, you know, the worship. Though there is no God, you know, that Jainism never prescribes, you know, God. They are called preachers, Tirthangara, predecessors. But people worship. Even Muhammad Nabi in Islam, you know, that is said to be a prophet. But people worship Muhammad Nabi as Allah. Allah is one, they say. But, you know, that they also, you know, that the Muhammad Nabi worship, you know, the same way. A lot of, you know, misinterpretations we are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So, orientation is religious here. When you talk about, you know, that religion, of course, you know, the spiritualization of all areas, you know, that of life in order to fit the individual for his final goal, purpose. In here too, you see, as said by Swami Vivekananda, what is that? Basically, you are spiritual being, but you undergo human experience. So, spiritualization of all areas of life so that, you know, you fit, you know, every individual is fitting with final goal, the purpose, the end. So, you understand, you know, you are part of the bigger entity, a bigger, you know, vision or mission, goal. So, you know, the very principles of Jainism, let me speak once again, it's applicable to both king as well as commoner alike. Of course, the same way. So, do your duty and do it as humanly as you can. Because, you know, here we recall the categorical imperatives of Immanuel Kant. All human beings should be treated as ends, not as means. We respect things, but we use human beings. That's what happening now. That's wrong. That's unethical. Let us use things, let us respect human beings. Because human beings end. Keep this end in mind. So whenever you do duty, at the end of the day, there should be, you know, humanistic approach. Even the Buddhism shares similar view. Be compassionate and humanistic. And even the budget, you know, during budget presentation, opposition parties, you know, criticizing in such a way, whatever may be, the lack of human face. So human beings should be treated as ends, not as means. We are talking about. It is that way. So all Jain ethics should be governed by, you know, of course, mind, speech, body. Maybe body physical, of course, you know, speech verbal, and mind, of course, you know, your thinking process, thought action. So all Jain ethics, you know, governed, you know, that in on all three ways. So, you know, that by physical, verbal, and thought actions. So, not only that, you know, that this is what the symbol of Jainism, where you see the very symbol, swastika symbol, you see this is, you know, this portion is for God, this portion, you know, the Dev, this portion is for Manushya, this portion is for animals, this portion is for hell. You call heaven, na, this is hell. So, hell to animal, animal to Manushya, Manushya to Dev. But if you strict, you know, a strict practitioner of the value system of Jains, you know, of course, you can become God. But it can be taken freely, not by force, not by fear. So it is that way, you know, that they also suggest, you know, how you can reach by having right faith, right knowledge, right contact, you can reach that siddhas, the top level. So it is that way. So the symbol has got its own meaning. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen. So it, you know, that the very Jainism doesn't invoke, you know, fear or reverence. You know, that even my mom says, you know, whenever there is, you know, strong, you know, that rain, there will be thunder sound, tadag, tadag, damak. Lightning, you know, thunder. Na? When I was, you know, that young, the childhood stage, you know, my mom will say, Arjuna, Arjuna. I will ask my mom, what? Arjuna, you know, that is, you know, that going on chariot. My mom used to say, in my young age, childhood stories. Oh, Varuna, oh Lord Varuna, protect us from this torrential rain. The fear of God, the fear of Agni, the fear of Aditi, the fear of Usha, the fear of Purandara, destroyer of forts. So the religion came, that created some sort of terror in the minds of the people. It's because of that fear people started venerating. Oh. So Jainism says it doesn't invoke fear or reverence for God. It's not by fear. It's because of the fear or reverence of the God, that you don't conform to, the divine character as a reason for moral behavior. Otherwise, so why this guy is moral behavior? Because, he's a religious person, no? He will be good. Hello. We've got a lot of godmen indulging in a lot of unethicalities. The nation has witnessed, so many. There are Sacharam, godmen. The one Premananda in the south and Nityananda there, absconded now. He's running some Kailasha somewhere with the support of politicians, you might be aware. So that's what, that you can believe a person who says, there is a God. Maybe Astika. You can also believe a person who says there is no God, Nastika. You should never believe a guy, who says, I'm the God. There is a problem. We don't want those religious brokers. Okay? There is a God in you. All religions saying, that being and becoming is religion. Self-realization. There is God in you. It's not outside in, inside out. But getting the help of your, that spiritual guru is totally different. There are good people also, mentors, to guide you to the path. But don't get misled. So, if anybody says, I am the God, it's over then. So, that is a preliminary round. Minimum qualification. If he says he is a God avatar, it's over. Come on, throw away. We don't want brokers. We don't want intermediates. That because there is a God in you. And you got, you contaminated that, the nature of the God in you by, that variety of, unethical things. You just remove. You be conscious. Train your mind. Discipline your mind. Have strict adherence to the value systems or principles. You'll realize you're part of the greater entity. You don't need brokers for that. Come on. Of course, Periyor Tunai Kodal. Get the help of mentors. But that you should be very cautious about it. Don't get misled. We are talking about, so there is no guarantee that, so it's not saying that my moral behavior because of, the conformity to the divine character. No, that's not the case. That is what, that Jainism, deploring. It's not by fear, not by reverence, or even there is no guarantee that moral behavior because of the conformity to the divine character. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. So, observance to the moral code is not necessarily simply because, God's will. You are chosen few, you are destined, or it's because of altruistic, or it is the humanistic, conducive to the general welfare or state or community. You got free will. But otherwise, Jainism is called egoistic imperative aimed at self-liberation. You should get liberated from the clutches of all these evil forces. Buddhism says sufferings because of all your dukh, sufferings, anxiety, it's because of your desire, your craving for that all those things. Be detached. The same way, liberate yourself by strict adherence to the value system, strict adherence to the principles, the standards. That has been, as I said, ABS, the principles we already discussed, that. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take you next level. The core principles of Jainism, of course, that no living being should be injured. Ahimsa is the core principle. Of course, Mahatma Gandhi got influenced by this. Satyagraha, Ahimsa is influenced because of the Jainism. He mentions even Vaishnavites, in what way they influenced him, that for the vegetarianism, he mentions there. He follows the fact that, sentient creatures are vulnerable to, the pain, and, all creations in this world, they can never escape from the two grand principles of life, pain and pleasure. Pain and sorrow. The pain, that and pleasure we call, but here pain and sorrow we are talking about. So this pain and sorrow, undesirable to the human beings, so are they to other creatures too. What causes you pain? The same pain may be other creations also. How come you can take it for granted? In the world of, that information revolution, the human beings, we have become commodity for exploitation. Now recently Facebook announced, right, even WhatsApp, very WhatsApp, of course it's the ownership, with Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg only we are talking about. Nowadays, that all your, the transaction in the WhatsApp, that they will be utilized by Facebook. Again, algorithm, of course, the data. In the world of, big data, you are a commodity. Data is a commodity. You are manipulated. As you manipulate animals, small creatures, plants, you are getting manipulated by technology. Over. You feel na? The very algorithm says, that, because that whatever, that the moment you open social network, that you get a lot of suggestions. You want this, you want that. They decide what you should wear, what you should say right and wrong. They influence your consumer behavior. In the world of, that information revolution or big data, you are a commodity. As you treated, plants and animals as commodity, you have become commodity. That's true. So pain and sorrow undesirable to the human beings. So are they to other creatures also? Will you understand? So don't hurt by words, by deeds, by actions. Of course, that. So life is a spiritual odyssey or pilgrimage, because there is a religious orientation in Jainism. It's they suggest path to salvation. How? Of course, the spiritual odyssey or pilgrimage. The religious, the trip you take, the tour, towards divine consciousness. You would have seen, that the nude Jains, walking by road, to Sharavana Belagula. Yes. So when men secure the release from the bonds of karma, that when you take that, that's why, the koil kola suttule, panna pavanam povule. Even your horoscope, maybe horoscope, when the astrologer says, so you have to go to this temple, that temple, break this much coconut, you feed this much people. Pava, punya, dharma, karma, transmigration of soul, all belief system. You talk about, you know all these things. So the Jainism says the life is a spiritual odyssey, the pilgrimage towards divine consciousness. When men secure release from the bonds of karma. Got the idea, na? So towards that consciousness. That's why. In front of God, that ultimately you are nothing. You feel that way. You complete surrender. You feel sorry. Maybe that rationalizes, that tames you. There also you go, you show your power. That's different story. There people, part of Hindu religious endowment, they indulge in corruption also. There are statues gone. Statues where, that ultimately, the banished to foreign countries. One, let me thank, the Pon Manikavil, IPS, one, a great man, that of course he did fantastic job. He brought back, but of course, he's not, properly given. And, there are guys, that's what, I don't know what these governments are doing, because the connivance, partners in crime, that ultimately they won't accept that guy. He's a very, straightforward guy, you might be aware, and also pious, spiritual guy. And he should be, accorded. I don't know what central government is doing. Let them listen this. You bring those guys, he should be made secretary to the Hindu religious endowment. Because, all political parties, all ministers are involved in this scam, including some Prohits. Oh my God. I don't know whether they have been, that used for that. So, effective role allocation and performance. Idanai, idanal, ivan mudikkum, endraaraindu, adanai avan kanvidan. So it's delegation, management by delegation. Because, the political, that circle is, afraid of, the choosing those, ethical people or right people, honest people. Because, they'll be screwed up. They are afraid of facing consequences. Madila Gano. We are talking about, so it is that way, ladies and gentlemen. So the spiritual odyssey, the pilgrimage towards divine consciousness. So, that the Tri-Ratna, otherwise called, the three ornaments, that you talk about, the Jainism says, Ratnatraya, otherwise open, that those, that Ratnatraya, the three ornaments open to the path to the salvation. How? Of course, FKC, the code, what is that? So, that Samyak Darshan, Samyak Gyan, otherwise Jnana, and Samyak, Charita. You talk about, that it's not Charita, it's Charita. Samyak Darshan, Samyak Jnana, you call, the Gyan. So Samyak, that Charitra. What is the point we are talking about? That it is the right faith, right knowledge, right conduct we are talking about. So path to salvation. But as Buddhism has got eightfold path, here you got, that the Tri-Ratnas, right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. You take asylum in, then you become, Jaina, a conqueror of all those evil forces. So the ultimate objective of, the spiritual efforts, what it should be, ultimate objective, what it should be, the spiritual efforts to find freedom, the liberation from the misery of the world. in which one, that one soul is enmeshed. மறுபிறவி எடுத்து உய்ய வேண்டாம் இறைவா என்னை ஆட்கொள். Oh my God, take me. I'm tired of all these evil forces. I can't move hereafter. Please take me. You surrender. Oh my God. So ultimate objective of spiritual efforts to reach, as we have seen, the command, let me go back the symbol. What is that? That what is the thing? Aridu, aridu, manidarai, prattal aridu. So the highest form of life, of course, human beings. But what do you do with what you have? Ultimately, what happened, right? From hell to the animal form to Manushya. The next stage is Deva. You become, Almighty God. That's what that. So the Jainism says. You realize that, that ultimately what happened, that spiritual path, that path to salvation through Tri-Ratnas, that we talk about three ornaments, that open the path to salvation, right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. We are talking about. So what is that? Ultimate objective of spiritual efforts to find freedom, liberation, the Kaivalya, as we spoke, Nirvana in Buddhism. The enlightenment, the world of intellectualism, from the misery of the world in which, one soul got enmeshed. You commit sins, mistakes, you get rebirth. That's a system, cyclic process. Birth, growth, decay, death. Birth, growth, decay, death. Birth, growth, decay, death. Come out of the cycle, man. My girl, it is that way we are talking about. So it is that way, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. Yes, what is the point? The 5 moral principles we already spoke. We are going to elaborate. What are all those? I gave you the code AQBS, anti-lock braking system. We said, what is that? So, that ahimsa, asteya, aparigraha, brahmacharya, satya. The 5 principles we already spoke. We are going to elaborate now. So, prescribes, that moral principles for both householders as well as monks, laymen as well as kings, laymen as well as ascetics. We are repeating this point. So, the codes for monks are, but as monk, you got more responsibility. You should be more strict, more rigorous. Strict adherence, that. So, Sharavana Belagula, you would have seen, that, of course, Sharavana Belagula in the South Karnataka, that we talk about. Bahubalishwarar temple, you would have seen, that it is that way. So, 5 common, that moral principles are, of course, refrain from violence towards, that living things, of course, ahimsa. It is that way, what is that? Speaking the truth, satya. Refraining, from, that theft, you talk about, that asteya. And that shunning adultery, of course, brahmacharya. And that shun the greed for material wealth, that, of course, that you talk about aparigraha. It is that way we are talking about. So the moral principles can be linked this way. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to the next level. Yes. So refraining from violence, of course, it is about elaboration of ahimsa. Let me speak more, because when you are given the code, you have to elaborate. So that I've taken from different sources, at least that reaches you. So life in that nature is equal. So that when there is a creator, we are all creations. You are not the only creator for your kind information. There are other creations too. Of course, you see environmental ethics, be kind to every kind, not only mankind, your obligation towards other species. The planet of the earth is not only restricted to the humanity, there are other species too. Your anthropogenic factor should not, that go against, all those, that species. Who gave you authority to destroy their habitat? We're going for global warming. So it is that way. So life in nature is equal. It is well balanced. That we, that anthropogenic factor, man-made disaster responsible for all these calamities. So harming big or small animal, it's the size doesn't matter. Whether it is, that amoeba or multicellular organism, a creature is a creature. Harming a big or small animal in life is equally bad. And violence, that includes, that's why there are some people, they become wise for those voiceless. People like Valalar, Jiva Karunya principle, we spoke already. Vadiya Payari, Kandabodellam Vadini. Even JC, Bose talked about sensitivity on the part of the plants. You might be aware. So violence includes not only physical injury to others, but also emotional harm. That's what ethics. See, in the world of, that law, having violated the law that you are brought to the book, on penalization, you feel guilty. But in the world of ethics, even thinking of violating law, even thinking of, violating, you feel guilty. Even you should not harm emotionally. Your thoughts have power. That's why that you get the blessings of elders. Why? Their thoughts. Ennam vol வாழ்வாய். They bless. Why? I'm very keen in touching the feet of elders, because the blessings, the moment that has got its own power. The same way, that your bad emotions about person, it has got its own. Even by that your emotion, you should not harm anybody. By your thought process, troubleshoot at your thought process. See, that the people talk about the chastity, the virginity. It's not only by physical contact. Manadalavula kuda swaram pogakudadu. Even by mind, that you should not think bad. It's over then. Then we can talk about that the physical that loss of virginity or chastity. Anadalavula, even by thought. Such is the value system we are talking about. So even that you should not harm others even by emotion, through bad behavior or offensive language. It is that way. So violence includes, it's that is what in the beginning we said, that the physical, verbal, and mind, that we spoke about, even the thought process. It is that way. So accept, accept the Jainism accepts. Otherwise, the principle Ahimsa accepts that householders, that cannot lead a life which causes no harm to all sentient beings. Of course, we use plants, vegetables, and that of course there are non-vegetarians. Of course, this particular touch will rationalize your action. The ஓடுறது, போடுறது, நடக்கிறது, பறக்கிறது, you will eat everything, that will rationalize to some extent. Because the sensitivity develops in you. Maybe at least that you rationalize. We understand that I'm not any promoting ism here. Of course, let's go with the topic. So, but rather minimize injury to others. Of course, that rationalizes your action. That sets you in that particular mode, feeling. That way. So eating animal flesh in any form is strictly forbidden in Jainism. Of course, that the vegetarianism you might be aware. So Ahimsa, why? It's born out of the principle called Ahimsa, non-violence. We are talking about. Not only that, the speaking truth, never lie. Jain conception of truth means faithful rendering of the visual and verbal evidence of one's possession. Kanakkaatile, tax pay pannale, how many things should come for you? Demonetization, GST. Otherwise, raid varum. Enforcement Directorate will come to your home. One guy has got 15,000 crores. One minister in Tamil Nadu. We hear a lot of informations. It's not only that guy. There are so many ministers. When the government changes, they'll be going to Tihar. And all enforcement agencies are waiting. And also there also I see the connivance. That what is that? The partners in crime from central administration too. Let's see how. Oh my God, that it is that way we are talking about. So will you show the accounts? The faithful rendering of visual and verbal evidence of one's possession. Kanakkaatile. Oh my God, it's that way. I hear in that in the Coimbatore regions, they never go to bank, they never deposit money. Because there is also fear. The bank will take away the money. Because banks becoming bankruptcy. Because all public sector banks money utilized by Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi, with the blessings of politicians as well as bureaucrats. So people are afraid of going to bank. Oh my God. So a lot of people, industrialists, that in Tamil Nadu, especially Coimbatore, they had, that in the sack, the very currencies. You might be aware. Of course, that Jainism is condemning them, of course. So similar to, Immanuel Kant's categorical imperative, which is absolute and inviolable. So all human beings should be treated as ends, not as means. We are talking about. However, one can take exception from an altruistic angle with a view to prevent the harm in others. It may not this, that what is the thing? Poimayum vaimaidatte puraidirnda nanmai bayakkum. When the situation demands you to be, that diplomatic, you have to, because the outcome decides. When it is going to protect the whole Indian people, whole humanity, nothing wrong. That's what even Tirukural says. Otherwise, you can't expect, that the people bordering, protecting India at the borders, you can't, that when they fight against terrorists, you can't expect them to practice, this ahimsa or, that the very, that satya. Tam, Ved, Dan, Dand, everything is justified. End justifies means, what is the end? What is the outcome? But that's what maximum happiness for maximum people, the utilitarian principle, you might be aware. So there it is getting justified. Hello? You get the logic, na? However, one can take exception from altruistic angle, from not from selfish angle, personal angle, altruistic angle. When the whole humanity benefits, the collectivity benefits, the nation, the majority of the citizens benefit. Definitely, you can, that prevent, that particular harm. Got the idea, na? With a view to prevent harm for all those majority. Maximum happiness for maximum people. There you can, that ultimately, deviate. That's a different story, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. So refraining from theft, stealing. Not, Buddhism says not taking the not given. So the concept of stealing is wider than the current legal meaning. The direct stealing or asking others, that directly, otherwise, even supporting, harboring, assisting, and giving blueprint, guiding. Most of the, that the secretaries nowadays, they suggest, plans to, that the political masters. What, sir? நீ முட்டாளியா போன மினிஸ்டர் 500 கோடி அடிச்சா நீ 200 கோடி தான் அடிச்ச. So this guy will motivate this new minister who knows nothing about the portfolio, and so that he is trained for earning 5,000 crores, so that this guy gets some 10% out of it, 500 crores for this secretary. We hear a lot of stories. One IAS officer is possessing 800 crores. Oh my God, what's happening here? So the concept of stealing, that is wider than. Of course, you come to know, that, but don't. Of course, that all those role models will shatter in front of your eyes. But don't wait, don't get inspired other way by those stories. Only time is the difference. Only time. Maybe by the time you become secretary, they'll be behind the bars. Don't worry. Otherwise, that won't be useful to them. They may not be there. So it is that way. So use of false measures or weights we are talking about. That. So it is the wrong accounts, false measures. What's happening in public distribution system. See the poor people standing in queue, how they are exploited. That the kerosene. I've seen personally. That in my rural locality, in my childhood. That. So the funnel, it will be at the back. I think you would have watched movie like Nayakna, Shankar movie. That the very Mudalvan. So the very movie, that how the kerosene, that the measuring, the jars at the bottom, that it will be complete funnel. And the weight, it's not 100% 1 kg. It will be around 700 grams. It's not 1 kilogram. Oh my God, we are talking about so false measures and weights. That's why, that though there is separate department for that, in spite of that. So, and receiving the stolen property, the got the idea, also from, also a form of stealing. Got the idea, na? So it is that way. There is, that one Karnataka Karnataka or Mumbai, I don't know. And when I was doing engineering, we went industrial visit that time. When there is a market called Gujili market. Gujili market, the stolen things, that ultimately sold. There is a big market. How society tolerates, justifies. Very cheap. From nail to, computer, you will get everything. Oh my God. I still, I couldn't even recover from that shock. There is a separate market for stolen items there, yeah. Gujili market. Oh my God. It is that way, see how compromising we are. So refraining from theft ultimately. So one should return the lost property to its owner, not taking the not given. That's what Buddhism says. It's not yours. So keeping it, that considered, because it's that's thirudan. I think it is right time. I was hearing definition of the communist for communism. What is communism? That when you are capable of eating only 4 idlis, 4 chapatis otherwise. So every chapati you take after fulfilling your need is a chapati of somebody else or idli of somebody else. You are stealing from somebody else, which is meant for someone else. You have stolen now. That's what that is how communism is explained. But I don't see communist leaders strictly adhering to except few. They themselves, indulging in corruption. That's different story. Oh my God, that's different story. Good and bad people are everywhere, cutting across ideologies. We're talking about, that it is that way. So anything you've got more than your need is out of greed. It's property of somebody else. It's someone else. That belongs to someone else. So, what is the point? That, that the lost property, that one man lost, it's at the cost of exploitation. Even the very Marxism says the poverty is not because of the absence of the resources, but because of exploitation of the resources. The resources meant for someone has been blocked by you, by your exploitative measures. Same way. So one should, that return the lost property to its owner, or keeping its, otherwise it is theft. Not taking the not given, Buddhism says. Of course, you got, but we are in Jainism. Ladies and gentlemen, shunning adultery, sexual misconduct we are talking about. But of course, the mutual conduct, that maybe after divorce, that of your wife, that you marry somebody else, or for some reasons, that's totally different. But that's legally valid, we are talking about. And that, so it's not indulging in adultery, extramarital relationship. We are talking about that's, that the married person should not, the cast covetous glances, even watching, that your TikTok, the variety of videos, dances, though it is banned, you might be aware. So the coveted, glances at women. So the modern day world, of course, that at least, but it is also the first step towards, that your crime activity we are talking about. Watching pornography, everything. Oh my God. So the government banned, child pornography. What about adult pornography? So, instead of, that raping, indulging in, adultery, at least, watching a pornography justified. But that's also, so that's a prelude. That's a prelude. So, that have the touch, that extramarital relation. We hear, that the sexual assault on women, the rape, the crime against women everywhere. So, how you should treat, that women respectively. We are very clear. In India, what happens, right? You go to temple, you worship women as goddess. The moment you come out of the, the temple, you stare at girls. Over. With lust attitude. Of course, he should treat the women, respectfully, we are talking about. So this rule of, the brahmacharya, it is a, strict application of the brahmacharya, adherence to that particular principle, of course, that the very Jainism speaks about. And not only that, that shunning, that the greed for material wealth. So it's a balance between need and greed. Fulfill the need, not the greed. Of course, even the Mahatma Gandhi ji says, the planet of the earth has got all resources so as to meet one's need, not greed. Not greed. But be greedy in fulfilling the goals of society, in generating wealth for the society. That's different. That's for altruistic reason, not for selfish motive. So urges men to curb their acquisitive instincts. That எதை பார்த்தாலும் அடிச்சுன்னு அப்படி அக்கா அந்த பங்களா நல்லா இருக்குக்கா அப்படியே அமைக்கலாம்க்கா அவனை போட்டு புடிங்கிடலாம்க்கா. We hear stories. I think you would have watched some movies. A politician coming in to inaugurate one particular mall, having seen the mall, ultimately that guy, that instrumental in lighting, that fire there. So that entrepreneur ultimately, and getting the help of hero to finish that, the very culprit. You might be aware how many movies you would have watched. The acquisitive, the moment what they see, it should be theirs. பார்க்கறதெல்லாம் வேணும், பார்க்கிற பொண்ணை தூக்கு, பார்க்கிற பையனை தூக்கு. Women leaders. பையன் நல்லா இருக்கான், தூக்கிட்டு வா நைட்டு. Oh, that is the thing. Are you aware of this? That happened in Tamil Nadu politics. Come on, people from different parts of India come to know. It's not, that the blaming, that good and bad people are everywhere. That as, the male politicians, that taking, that, of course, even the recent, that the death of one, that actress, linked with politicians, the story. But at the same time, she is not, the virgin or chastity. Connivance, partners in crime, that's different scenario we are talking about. So, I don't know where the world is traveling. So the very media attention, for the 1 month about the story and running after and making her as if, that mother goddess. Oh my God, it is that way, that, so that's what I say. All popular things need not be right. All right things need not be popular. Have you ever seen, advertisement for Rolls Royce? Oh my God, it is that way. So are just meant to curb the acquisitive instincts we are talking about. But that even Hinduism says, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. For righteousness. For righteousness, if you earn Artha, then you enjoy. Then you reach Moksha. Then leave legacy. That's what, that learn, love, live, leave legacy. You learn. It is that way. So not to get ready, it's not only learning, also practicing. So not to get, greedy and develop an inordinate love for wealth. So some guys, that like the smell of currency. They say that way. You got everything there. It's more than 100 crores. What do you need? I love that smell of currency somewhere. Where they are heading, God knows. So as this leads to dissatisfaction and suffering, dissatisfaction and suffering. We're talking about, yeah, because that, so it's adharma. How come it won't, it will never stay with you? Today it's yours, tomorrow it's somebody else, maybe enforcement directorate, maybe government will confiscate. Day after tomorrow, somebody else, maybe coming back to the very people through populistic measures. Who knows? So households, should refrain their wants, the craving, that and lead simple and contented. That so the live, that happily, live with little by honest means. It is that way than living, that with more by dishonest means. You can't be happy. There won't be peace of mind. Even the richest countries are not happiest countries in the world. What happened today? The Trumpism we are talking about now. The banana republic moment faced by the very, the worldest democracy. Oh my God. The world, the very America and its double standards. Yes. They try to promote democracy everywhere. And they spoke about change of regimes everywhere in the Middle East. You understand, na? The double standards now. What's happening? The banana republic moments. That the very Trump is not even ready to hand over the power to the incoming president. So this is how they respect democratic institutions. Yes, we are talking about all round. That they have reached the superpower and its leader, the POTUS. What's happening now? So households should restrain their wants and lead simple and contented life. The contentment never came for the Trump, even having become US president. Oh my God, we are talking about, greedy people, of course, that. So, what is the shortcomings on the part of Jainism? You can ask me. So, the concept of God or supreme being, the governing the universe is lacking in Jainism. Got the point now? So, they don't have that, so there is no God in Jainism. You have to understand. But people worship you very Mahavira as God, as you worship your teacher. So, it's not disputing, it is up to them. You worship, na? Matru Devo Bhava, Pitru Devo Bhava, Acharya Devo Bhava, Aditi Devo Bhava. And also you talk about, Mata, Pita, Guru, Devam. Guru, Devam. That way, that so, they also worship their own, predecessor. Tirthangaras. Mahavira happened to be one among them. So it's that way. So, but Jainism never talks about the concept of God or supreme being governing the universe. But it's almost like Stoicism. That so the world, its views is governed by natural laws. Natural laws. It's similar to Stoicism principle. Jainism is similar to the Stoicism. We already spoke part of Western moral thinkers. So advocacy of that austerity by body, that, and also the mental discipline. Mental discipline, even the Buddhism emphasizes. Discipline your mind by eightfold path, by practicing moderate. That's Buddhism. So the same way, austerity and also the moderation path. So almost that Buddhism and Jainism similar, except differences. Few differences we are talking about. So advised to ignore the superstitious belief, that are popular among people. So that's good thing. So even the very birth of Buddhism and Jainism came against, that in response to, the Vedic rituals and ceremonies and its orthodoxy as well as its Sanskritic domination, because they preached people through that local lingua franca, Prakrit and Pali. So one should avoid performing rituals and ceremonies, ceremonies for pleasing gods. They are against it. So rituals and ceremonies, and rather disciplining mind, mental discipline, austerity. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, it is that way. We are talking about, yes, it is that way. Not only that, so the excessive pride on the part of an individual, the arrogance, garva, egoist, people become. Ultimately, the give up the pride to become pure and humble. Matter, the greatest people are humble. There are leaders without title. As I told you, right, when all intellectuals are with full of doubts because of the various reference theories and everything, maybe they are shrouded in spiritual world. They feel humble. They stay very austere, simple. But the fools and unethical people in the road, they are very assertive and that they're commanding. Got the idea, na? The empty vessel making much noise. We hear, na? But very ethical people, intellectuals, they are very silent. You can't even understand where they are. They come, they and go. You can't even notice. But when one counselor comes, when local MLA, the anti-social element became MLA or minister, when that guy comes, the 1,000, even the, the election time, the political parade, so their own vehicles, hitting each other. Oh my God, the extravagance, show off, grand, சென்னை என்னது கோவை குலுங்கியது all biryani potlams, the people brought to that, political show offs, for, by giving 300 rupees biryanis. It is not, Tana Senda Kutam, Seta Kutam, that it's otherwise called, people, they were mobilized for that, political mobilization. For that, all those procession, whatever may be, by payoff, not by heart, by for ideology or after a leader, after the source of inspiration. So what happened? The Jainism says, become pure, humble in heart to attain divine consciousness. That if you don't have all these things, you can never attain that divine consciousness. Reject, reject, go back, go back. Oh, go back, take one more birth. You realize, then come back. So become pure, humble in heart. It is that way, that to attain divine consciousness, it's very difficult. So that makes you, that you are preoccupied with the spiritual world. But guys, that without this touch, but they will also enter into another birth, maybe, I don't know. So this too shall pass. Of course, there is always, hate the sins, not the sinner, in spite of all these things. Hate the sins, but love the sinner. What to do? Maybe karma. Give up pride. This is according to Jainism. Give up pride. Become pure, humble in heart to attain divine consciousness. And also Jain monks, that they say, have to follow more austere code. As I said, more than, that laymen, that the monks, that they've got more responsibility. They should strictly adhere to the austerity code than the householders. They've got more responsibility. And they cannot live, that long at a place, they are very mobile, wanderer. The people wander here to there. That's what, that peripatetic, that we say, peripatetic. What is that? Wandering life. Jina, conqueror, wanderer in search of truth, as Gautama Buddha, the Siddhartha did. The same way, every Jina, Jaina, you call the wanderers. They cannot live long at a place in pursuit of truth, in pursuit of this, the principle. So they have to expose themselves to elements, variety of elements, in order to strengthen or steel themselves against anger, thirst, cold, heat, expose. That's why, that the nudity, sky-clad, digambaras, you hear, na? So make yourself strong, but don't, see, very well now, all dresses protecting, that gives you comfort. That the jerkin, ultimately protecting from the cold wave. Of course, today we accorded social dimension, that it's that you protect your, that ultimately, that modesty, no exposure, the chastity, everything you link. But original definition, those days, Mahajanapadas period, I'm talking about. So that you make yourself strong, like steel body, by exposing yourself, that ultimately to all those. So ultimately, that you withstand. That will strengthen your mind. It is that way. So that's making their hearts pure and humble. They become Jina, Jaina, or spiritual conqueror. We are talking about. So give up pride, egoism, give up pride. The temples you witness, it is that way. So now I think, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for, that us, that to discuss, very few quotes, that this is very small topic, don't worry. Because, but you should know, that the heterodox religions of Hinduism, of course, that it's a reaction against, orthodoxy, rituals and ceremonies of Hinduism, you might be aware. Through constitutionally speaking, even Buddhism and Jainism still treated as part and parcel of Hinduism. You might be aware. It is that way. So, the quotes of Mahavira, yes, do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature or living being. Ahimsa. What we do? Only himsa. What we do? Mostly himsa. Oh my God. Huh? So non-violence. It is that way. That so when something pains you, that the same way it will pain other creations also. Put yourself in that particular position, in somebody else's shoe. That way. So that's the maturity, the greatest maturity. even by thought, even by deed. So, body, the mind, of course, you talk about, na? It is that way. So, the physical, verbal, mental, we speak. So, don't injure, don't harm, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature. The moment you strictly adhere to, over the days, all your non-vegetarian practices comes down. One day, fine morning, you will become vegetarian. I'm not promoting any ism here. That maturity, the sensitivity, the compassion in other beings also. Be kind to every kind, not only mankind. Devakarunya, environmental ethics, the inherent potential in every creation, not only in humanity, the divinity in every creation. Because as long as there is a creator, there are creation. As long as there is a creator, there are other, there is a creation, there are other creations too. Your obligation, ahimsa, that will rationalize all of your actions, all your excessiveness. As Buddhism said, you reach that middle path, moderate path, as said by, golden mean by Aristotle. இனியவை நாற்பது நாற்பது. In Tamil literature, you got, don't do that, don't do this. ஊனை தின்று ஊனை பெருக்கல் முன் என்னா. இன்னா நாற்பது. By eating flesh, that don't grow your body. ஊனை தின்று ஊனை பெருக்கல் முன் என்னா. Don't do. mat karo. உடம்பை வளர்த்தேனே, உயிரை வளர்த்தேனே. பஞ்சமூலம், that ultimately, திருமூலர் we are talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature or living being. Of course, reinforcing the principle of ahimsa. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, let me take you to another quote. What is that? Kill not, cause no pain. Non-violence is the greatest religion. That's according to Mahavira, one of the Tirthankaras, 24 Tirthankara. Non-violence is the greatest religion. My mom used to say, எந்த உயிருக்கும் தொல்லை கொடுக்கக்கூடாது ராஜா, எந்த உயிருக்கும் பாதிப்பு வரக்கூடாது கண்ணு, பார்த்து பேசுப்பா, பார்த்து நடந்துக்குப்பா. She is no more. My mom, the greatest wonderful human being in the world. Of course, my umbilical cord connectivity, I've got greatest respect towards her. But I've seen greatest human being in her. Oh my God, you won't believe, that one day, that in my young age, I was doing, she was preparing some food. That before making rice, she will wash the rice. One day, what happened? Then monkey entered my home. That monkey, what happened? She, the monkey having come my home, the kitchen, the monkey took my mom's hand. My mom did, nothing. It started eating the rice, raw rice. That's meant for, preparing, that rice we are talking about, So it's ultimately started eating. My mom was very mute spectator. Okay, poduma, eaten na? Okay, go. All, the pet dogs, that the dogs, we nurtured, that they listen to my mom. They wait for my mom's command. As if, they've got great understanding. I used to astonish. Oh, she was such a greatest, wonderful, the vibrations. She was a strict practitioner of non-violence. I could sense in her. Even if I practice that, that will be the greatest achievement in my life, I believe. The very value system she stood for. My mom, I'm talking about. Of course, your mom, you got wonderful parents. You can appreciate those principles also in your parents, relatives, brothers, sisters. They are otherwise, that of course, that you don't wait for others to come and preach you. That, or do you show sensitivity to learn from your neighbors? Kill not, cause no pain. But it's not applicable to the people who protect Indian borders. Different yardsticks for different occasions. That's what leadership. So non-violence is the greatest religion. Given that, that, so no religion preaches violence. So that's why terrorists, the terrorists have no religion. Even the fringe elements part of any, that a religion, of course, we talk about, they're not part of religion. Because non-violence is the greatest religion, according to Mahavira, we are talking about. You understand? The very Gujarat we are talking about, some, Jains involved in some violence, they are not Jains. terrorists involved in, that in killing innocent civilians, they are not Muslims. They have no religion at all. The fringe elements part of Hinduism involved in killing, Muslims, the people of other faiths, they are not part of, Hindu religion. Because the core religion of, the core Hindu religion says, according to Swami Vivekananda, that universal tolerance and acceptance and unity in diversity is the core principle. The religion is all about being and becoming. I think my mom did fantastic. I've seen. Of course, that your mom is the first God in you that you witness. It is she who brought you to this world. Talk to her. Treat her with respect. Talk to her. You will come to know. So the non-violence, the greatest religion, you come to know. Of course, that goes with, Mahavira. We are talking about not only that. So in happiness and suffering, in joy and grief, we should, regard all creatures, that as we regard our own self. As you treat yourself, you treat other creations, other creatures. Otherwise, it is double standard. Not taking for granted. You got responsibility, your obligation. That's what we call in environmental ethics stewardship. Your obligation towards other species. Anthropogenic factor, the man-made disaster. How come they can destroy the habitats of other species? For every 1 degree Celsius rise on the part of planet of the Earth, you call global warming. It's going to that ultimately wipe out the 10% of species in the world. Are you aware? Who gave you authority? The dumping of medical waste, electronic waste, nuclear waste, construction waste. Are you not spoiling the environment meant for other species? Are you not disturbing the ecosystem, the biomes? The biodiversity is not getting disturbed because of that. In happiness and suffering, in joy and grief, we should regard all creatures, as we regard. In happiness, we start killing, chicken, mutton, fish. Your happiness, your celebration, that leads to death of few species. Even on your death, maybe that you offer prayer for your dead ancestors, because they love the non-vegetarian items. You bring. One day the celebration in such a way, the Kasapatala in Tamil Nadu, it is that way. After some 16th day, I believe. All relatives are invited to eat non-vegetarian items. What is this? Even in sorrow, you try to kill other creatures. Of course, I'm talking about, that, one day find money. This is the principle of Jainism. Don't say, I'm not Jain, I'm Hindu, that I ate that thing, even Atta, Kali, that our small deities, we give sacrifice. It is that way, it's not, I'm not promoting any ism. At least it will rationalize this sort of thinking, will make you more mature. You show compassionate and more humanistic. You show sensitivity to the occasion. You never disturb the ecosystem, biodiversity. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about that. I think it's right time. Let me take you to the final quote. I believe all breathing, existing, living, sentient, creatures should not be slain. Who gave you authority? As you are, if you are a creature, there is another creature. Who gave you authority? That it's not, you don't have complete control over those creatures. Who gave you authority to kill them? That way, so not treated with violence, nor abused, nor tormented, nor driven away. We have seen ultimately, that it's centered around ahimsa, non-violence. That's what the occupation of this Jainism. Of course, Triratna we spoke, right faith, right knowledge, right contact. That's different story. Talking about, ladies and gentlemen, I think it is the right time. Hope you understood that. So the very Buddhism and Jainism came in response to the orthodoxy and Vedic rituals and ceremonies. Of course, that the very Jainism recruited people of all ranks. You might be aware the primary stress is on that the very ahimsa we are talking about. Of course, let me recall once again the code, anti-lock braking system, ABS, you keep in your mind so that you never forget. What is that? So A3BS, what is that? Ahimsa, Asteya, Aparigraha, Brahmacharya, Satya. Over. And Triratna, right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. The path. We're talking about all these things, ladies and gentlemen. It is that way, ladies and gentlemen. I think that you took into account, that I think you have seen almost. Got the idea? People join late, that you can watch from the beginning once the session is over. Yes, and also the very symbol. You got the meaning now. The swastik symbol, four portions, four quart, the compartments we are talking about. Quarters, otherwise, you can reach Dev. How? From health to, that animals to Manushya, then Dev. They're talking about by practice of right faith, right knowledge, right conduct. We spoke. Ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, this is right time. That it's the very principles applicable to kings as well as commoners. The monks as well as laity, laymen. We spoke at length. The very Jainism has got its own, that six, of course, Shvetambara, Dihambara. We spoke. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that you got enough information about this. I think you can type also, if at all you got any questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my right time. Let me take you to the final end. Of course, what is that? The resources to be consulted. Once again, the resources to be consulted. I think have we? Yes. So that this particular thing I skipped, I believe. That's why I was searching. What is the point? That the excessive pride, you should give up the pride, what we are talking about. In the pursuit of, that to self-perfection, in the pursuit to self-perfection, men have to abandon pride. Even the Christianity says one of the seven sins, give up your pride. One of the seven evils according to Christianity. Give up your pride. That makes you more egoistic. That will distort the truth. That you will become unhuman. Even today, essay topic, from human being to being human. The paradigm shift. So today's topic essay, mains essay, I'm talking about. So that so it's that way, that the traces, the very pride, why the human pride or arrogance has got 8 sources. When you become, that when you are proud about yourself, the moment you are proud, that you feel you are superior, then you start belittling others, criticizing others, destructively sometimes. That's different. Idipara illa, yemara mannan, kedupar illanum kedum. That's different. That's totally different argument altogether. We are talking about, why the pride, how the pride comes, arrogance comes, because, that, that, see, that's what. Don't, the success should not go to your head. Over. Speak out of heart. So the failure should not reach your heart. Success should not go to your brain, head. The moment it goes to your head, it's over. And you will be, at the feet of somebody else then, finally. Then you have to. So the pride, the arrogance, that through 8 sources, what are maybe by out of intelligence. The knowledge, wisdom you command. Maybe, you are very beautiful. Khubsurat hai. Bahut sundar hai. Maybe it's that way. Maybe, that you anda parambara. My family, the noble family, the status you acquired. And also the caste, maybe upper caste you belong to sometimes. The physical and mental strength, maybe that you flex your muscle. And mental strength also sometimes, that you psychologically threaten. And also, that maybe you are command over magical powers. And also, that a mode of, that maybe you are strict practitioner of religious guy. What happened now? You start belittling everybody, scolding everybody. So what? So then what is the use of that, that strict worship? The divine consciousness is not there. There are guys, maybe you are strict practitioner of all those rituals and ceremonies. But what is the use the moment, if you don't, that approach others with humanistic, that approach, what is the use of that divine consciousness? So maybe sometimes, people take pride, I'm a staunch worshipper of, so what? You are not God, na? So tapas and yoga, maybe strict practitioner of yoga, yogasana, the tapas you do, you feel proud. This is according to, Jainism, you take pride, you reach arrogance, maybe because of these 8 sources. That's according to, that the very Jainism I'm talking about, that thing, that particular point I missed, I was searching, ladies and gentlemen. So we spoke, that Mahavira quotes too, that's very important because, the questions are framed in terms of quotes and asking you to, have your own interpretation, write your own meanings, what you construe out of it. It's not only corporate people like Warren Buffett, historical people like, that Napoleon Bonaparte, even our Mahatma Gandhiji, Dr. Kalam, Abraham Lincoln, and Socrates, the quotes of those people, that came in previous questions I'm asking you. The same way, there may be the quotes from, Swami Vivekananda, Gautama Buddha Siddhartha, Mahavira. So you please, think that way. I want you to think that way. Of course, that is the very purpose. It's bringing parallelism, from your understanding, you try to connect with, other, because, the truth is same, the manifestations are different. As Swami Vivekananda said, that, so all, the rivers from the mountains ultimately reaching the greatest water body, the ocean, the seas, from different rivers, they come and join. So the paths may be different, all different religions coming and reaching me. You come towards me. That's what God says. The destination is God, but paths are different. So truth is similar, truth is same, but manifestations are different. That's why the Swami Vivekananda, the staunch, that advocate of Hinduism, the Western world, and promoting spiritual, the values in the Western world, when Western world is fully, that with scientific temperament and respecting women and also materialism, how the crisis they face for that India can be a solution. The very staunch believer of Hinduism, what happened, right? He said all religions are true. All religions are true. Let's respect all religions. That's what he speaks in Chicago conference. You understand very well. It is that way. So, that truth is similar, manifestations are different. It's that way. Whatever may be the religion, whatever may be the denomination, you understand all paths leading to ethical way of life. The ethics is all about, principles, standards, the value system guiding you whenever you are confused. Whenever there is a possibility that you get deviated from, the accepted way of living. Whenever you encounter ethical dilemma or conflict or constraints. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you have benefited out of my session. By participation, I think it is right time, you please, the consult all these resources. Maybe, that the basic resources, lexicon for your basic understanding, Subbarao and also Ramesh Arora. And, this is ethics in public administration and governance portion, probity in governance. Second ERC is must. Fourth report, 10th report, 11th report, you just go through, well. We're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, welcoming you once again to Unacademy. This is Success Sampath. Hitherto interacted with you. I think, I hope I would have made your time worthwhile. My humble attempt, that in making you connected, because you know already everything. My humble attempt to, that give shape to your, that understanding by supplying, the few keywords or nomenclatures. Connecting with, the few philosophers, thinkers, social scientists in the name of my variety of discussions over ethics and integrity, part of your UPSC Civil Service Examination mains, that to GS4 has got the responsibility of 250 marks, you might be aware, ladies and gentlemen. So thanks for your passions and, your involvement. Hope you will benefit more. Please watch all my videos already available part of, Unacademy platform, and also the very, that, having downloaded the very app, that you can also watch variety of videos of mine there. Use my ID, say success, to avail maximum 10% discount. Please go for iconic program, because new batches starting from 11th January, variety of teams of Unacademy waiting to support you. Please use that opportunity. Use my referral code, say success, to avail 10% discount. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the right time. Let me, that this is Success Sampath signing off from you. Thank you so much for your wonderful cooperation and passions. Let's meet tomorrow, same time, with another topic. Thank you so much, everyone, and good night. Thank you. Yes.